Confident Speaking Podcast, where you can learn to speak English with natural rhythm, real confidence, and fluency.
Hello, English learners. Welcome back to the Confident Speaking Podcast. This is your absolute favorite spot to practice natural, authentic English. You know, the kind of English you will actually use when talking to real people.
Yes, a massive welcome to everyone tuning in today. We are incredibly happy to have you with us. On this podcast, we focus on genuine conversations and relatable stories to help you build real confidence. I'm Jack.
And I'm Sarah.
Together, we are your English practice partners. We aren't strict professors waiting to correct your grammar. Well, we are simply two friends who logically want to help you improve.
Exactly. No heavy textbooks or boring rules today. We are just sharing real conversations about real life.
So Sarah, how has your day been so far? Did you get a good night's rest?
Actually, yes. I slept wonderfully. When I woke up and opened my curtains, the sky was just this perfect clear blue. I literally stood there for a whole minute just smiling at the sun.
Wow, I really appreciate that. A peaceful morning routine is a highly effective way to begin the day.
Yeah, it really is. And you know, that quiet moment actually inspired our topic for today.
Oh, interesting. What is the topic?
Today we are exploring the incredible power of positivity.
Absolutely. I think that is a highly relevant subject. We are going to examine how our daily thoughts, our tiny habits, and our everyday choices can scientifically make our lives feel much lighter.
And please don't worry, everyone. We aren't just going to tell you smile and be happy, life is perfect. No, we know that real life has plenty of difficult days too.
Precisely. We want to discuss practical, actionable positivity. We are not talking about ignoring problems or wearing fake smiles. We want to give you real mental tools you can apply right now.
And as always, we will naturally pick up some fantastic new English vocabulary along the way. Listen closely, repeat the phrases when you can, and just enjoy our chat.
But before we dive into the main topic, we do have a very quick request. If you find value in this podcast, please hit the like button, subscribe to the Confident Speaking Podcast, and share this audio with a friend who is also studying English.
Yes, send it to that one friend, maybe your friend Mateo or Priya, who always tells you, I really want to improve my English, but I just don't know how to start. This conversation is the perfect starting point.
All right, are we ready to begin?
Let's jump in. So, Jack, let's start with the basics. When we use the phrase, the power of positivity, what exactly are we talking about?
That is a logical place to begin. Let's look at the core word first. Positivity. Positivity. Positivity.
Positivity. At its heart, positivity means maintaining a hopeful, bright attitude toward life. It definitely does not mean your life is completely flawless. It just means you actively choose to find the good aspects, even when your situation is tough.
Everyone listening, let's practice that word together. Positivity.
And here is a beautiful secret. Positivity does not live outside of you. It isn't hiding inside your smartphone, it's not at your office, and it doesn't come from other people. It grows from the inside.
I absolutely agree with that concept. However, objectively speaking, we also need to be realistic. I certainly experience mornings where my brain feels like a dark, heavy thunderstorm.
Oh, me too. Sometimes I wake up and my brain immediately says, Welcome to Tuesday. Let's review every single thing that is going wrong in your life.
Yes, that is a very common psychological response. The moment you wake up, your mind generates a stressful list. You remember a bill you forgot to pay, an email you ignored, or a silly error you made last Friday.
That is the perfect moment to introduce our first phrase, dwell on something. D-W-E-L-L. Dwell.
When you dwell on something, you obsess over it. You replay that specific thought repeatedly in your mind, and as a result, you refuse to move forward.
Exactly. For example, my friend Aisha tries very hard not to dwell on her past mistakes. She just learns her lesson and keeps moving.
Another example would be, he dwelt on one minor piece of criticism and completely ignored all the wonderful compliments he received.
That happens so often, and when we constantly dwell on negative ideas, our minds start to feel incredibly heavy. It feels exactly like walking around with 50 rocks in your backpack.
I actually analyzed my own behavior regarding this last month. I woke up on a normal Wednesday. Nothing was technically wrong in my environment, but my overall outlook was incredibly gloomy.
Oh, outlook. That is a brilliant word. outlook. Outlook.
Your outlook is essentially your perspective on life. It is the lens through which you view your reality.
Right. So for you, it was the exact same house, the same morning coffee, the same daily routine, but your outlook made everything feel impossible.
Exactly. I kept telling myself, everything is too complicated. I am falling behind. And the fascinating part was that I wasn't just observing that negative voice. I was actively encouraging it.
Uh-oh, let me guess. You grabbed your phone and started reading the news?
Yes. I opened my news app and immediately absorbed sad stories and angry comments online.
Haha. Oh, Jack. It's like your brain was already feeling sick, and you decided to feed it junk food.
A sad breakfast for the brain, exactly.
So how did you break out of it? What was your solution?
Well, initially, I did nothing. I just lay there looking at my screen, feeling more and more exhausted. But then I remembered a very logical rule. I cannot instantly transform my entire mood, but I always have the power to control my next 5 minutes.
Wow, I absolutely love that. I can't change everything, but I can change my next 5 minutes. That is such an inspiring reminder for all of us.
Yes, I made a conscious choice to short-circuit the negativity.
Short circuit? We usually hear that term when talking about broken electronics, right?
That is correct. It is a technical term, but in psychology, it means to suddenly interrupt a destructive pattern. You force your brain off of its usual, comfortable highway of sadness.
I see. So instead of walking further into a dark cave, you completely change your path.
Precisely. I forced myself to put the device away. I opened my bedroom window to get fresh oxygen, and I played exactly one upbeat, cheerful song. Just one.
That is such a tiny, easy action.
It is very small, yes. But after that song, I cooked a healthy breakfast and walked around my neighborhood for 10 minutes. It wasn't a massive lifestyle change, but that brief pause acted like a system reboot for my brain.
I am so proud of you for doing that, Jack. That is a brilliant strategy for our listeners to try.
Thank you. And to everyone listening, this method is highly effective. Your major challenges won't vanish in 10 minutes, but your internal energy shifts. And that slight shift is all you need to start moving.
I think about this process like planting a beautiful garden.
A garden? Please, explain your analogy.
Well, if you don't carefully choose what to plant in the dirt, ugly weeds will just grow automatically. Angry news, old stress, comparing yourself to others, those are all wild, ugly weeds.
Ah, I see. But when you actively plant a healthy seed, like a moment of gratitude or a brief morning walk, you begin growing a completely different environment.
Yes, and that brings us to a beautiful word, gratitude. Gratitude. Gratitude.
Gratitude is the emotional state of being thankful. It means you consciously observe and appreciate the positive elements of your reality, whether they are massive or microscopic.
For example, my friend Carlos writes down one simple thing he feels gratitude for every single evening. Yesterday, he just wrote, "I am grateful for my warm socks."
Haha, that is very practical. Or you might say, practicing gratitude significantly reduced my stress levels during a difficult project.
It really is magic. And you know, you don't need a fancy diary to do this. A single sentence in your head is totally fine.
Correct. And we must clarify, building this habit does not require you to act cheerful 100% of the time. That is biologically impossible.
Exactly. You are a human being. It is perfectly normal to feel exhausted, to feel heartbroken, or to cry.
However, even during a terrible afternoon, you still possess a mental control switch. You can pause and ask, what is one tiny practical action I can take right now to treat myself kindly?
Maybe that just means taking 3 deep breaths. Maybe it means stepping outside for a moment.
Or simply writing down, today, I feel gratitude for, and filling in the blank.
You aren't fixing all your problems at once. You are simply pointing your mind in a brighter direction.
And statistically, if you repeat that small action daily, your brain develops new neural pathways. You build a happiness habit.
A happiness habit. I adore the sound of that.
So to summarize our first major concept today, positivity is not defined by what the universe does to you. It is defined by how you manage your reaction, one tiny seed at a time.
Okay, so we've covered planting good seeds. But let's be totally honest. Sometimes our brains get completely stuck in the mud of worry. We have to talk about that.
Yes, the mechanism of chronic worrying. Let's analyze what you can do when your brain simply refuses to shut down.
Oh, I had an entire year like that recently. Every single night my head was just filled with what-if questions.
What if my company closes? What if I fail this exam? What if my friends secretly dislike me?
Exactly. I would try so hard to sleep, but my brain was wide awake, sprinting in exhausting circles. Jack, and the irony of that situation is that humans usually worry the most about variables we have zero control over. You are so right. My brain absolutely loves worrying about the global economy, the rain, and what random strangers on the internet are doing.
Haha, yes, the complete package of modern anxiety. I remember lying awake once, realizing I was trying to manage the entire planet from my bedsheets.
Haha, that is exactly how it feels. You were definitely spiraling, my friend.
Ah, spiraling. Let's define that term. When we say your thoughts are spiraling, it means a tiny, insignificant worry rapidly multiplies into a massive disaster in your head. You travel down a dark spiral staircase, feeling worse with every step.
Right, like I might read one confusing email from my boss, and suddenly I am spiraling, thinking I will be fired and lose my apartment.
Or an example for our learners. Whenever I am severely sleep-deprived, my thoughts tend to spiral into catastrophic scenarios.
I think everyone listening knows exactly what that feels like.
So to combat this, I utilized a very visual strategy. I grabbed a pen and drew 2 large circles on a piece of paper.
2 circles? Ooh, how does this work?
The first circle was labeled variables I can control. The second circle was labeled variables I cannot control.
Oh, that is so visual and clean.
Inside the can control circle, I wrote down data points like my diet, my bedtime, my screen time, and the tone of voice I use with my colleagues.
And in the cannot control circle, you put things like the past, the news, the weather, and how other people behave?
Exactly. Seeing it clearly mapped out on paper dramatically reduces the anxiety.
I can imagine. What was your biggest realization?
I discovered that roughly 90% of my mental energy was focused on the cannot control circle. My brain was working overtime, but it was completely useless effort.
Wow. That sounds exactly like trying to keep your head above water in an ocean that you aren't even supposed to be swimming in.
Keep your head above water. That is a highly descriptive idiom. It means you are barely surviving a crisis. You aren't swimming comfortably. You are just fighting to avoid drowning.
Exactly. For example, with university exams and a part-time job, Mateo is just trying to keep his head above water this month.
Or, during the economic crisis, many small businesses felt they were barely keeping their heads above water.
Those are great examples. So Jack, after you drew these 2 circles, what was your next step?
I established a strict logical rule. If a worry belongs in the cannot control circle, I am allowed to acknowledge it exists, but I am legally not allowed to analyze it for an hour.
Haha, legally. I absolutely love that rule.
Instead, I force myself to select one actionable item from the can control circle. I will drink a glass of cold water. I will reply to one email. I will focus on my breathing pattern.
It is literally like walking out of a loud, chaotic traffic jam and stepping into a calm, quiet library.
Exactly. And sometimes my strategy is just closing my eyes and visualizing a very specific, calm environment. A quiet mountain trail. The sound of the wind. The cool air on my arms.
Just hearing you describe that makes my shoulders drop.
I focus on my oxygen intake and remind myself, at this exact second, I do not need to solve my entire future. I only need to inhale and exhale.
That is so powerful. So our second major lesson today, your mind drains its battery when you obsess over things you cannot change. But when you redirect your focus to tiny things you can control, your mind finally gets to rest.
And that intentional pause, that moment of quiet control, is a fundamental form of positivity. It isn't loud, but it is highly effective.
Beautifully explained, Jack. Now let's chat about the secret conversations we have with ourselves. Let's talk about self-talk.
Self-talk. This refers to the internal monologue inside your brain. It is the continuous stream of messages you silently communicate to yourself throughout the day.
Yes. For instance, my self-talk this morning when my alarm rang was, "Come on, Sarah, you've got this. One step at a time."
However, statistically, most people are completely unaware of their self-talk. It just plays in the background, like a radio station you forgot to turn off.
And unfortunately, that radio station plays a lot of sad songs. We say things to ourselves like, "Ugh, you are so lazy," or "You always ruin everything."
I occasionally catch my own brain doing this. When it happens, I pause and use a logical filter. Would I ever speak this harsh sentence to a good friend?
And the answer is almost always no. We would never, ever treat a friend the way we treat ourselves.
Therefore, the optimal strategy is to act as your own best friend. If your colleague made a minor error, you would likely reassure them. You would say, "Do not worry. Mistakes happen. Let's find a solution."
I actually practiced this just a few days ago. I accidentally deleted a document at work. Instead of screaming internally, "You are so stupid," I just said, "Okay, that's frustrating. Let's see if the IT department can recover it."
And what was the emotional result of that change?
I felt so much lighter. I still had to fix the problem, obviously, but I didn't carry a heavy blanket of shame around the office all afternoon.
Shame. That is a very complex emotion. It is the deep, painful belief that you are fundamentally broken or inadequate. For example, when you make a language error, try not to attach shame to it. An error is just data to help you improve. It does not define your intelligence.
That is a wonderful point for our language learners. Okay, here is another fantastic tool we can use. Reframe.
To reframe a concept means to alter the perspective. You look at the exact same data, but you put a new, more constructive frame around it.
Right. Like, instead of crying, "I completely failed my English speaking test." You can reframe it and say, "Wow, now I know exactly which grammar rules I need to study for next month."
Importantly, reframing is not about self-deception. You are not lying to yourself. You are actively selecting the most practical, beneficial interpretation of the facts.
I challenge everyone listening to try this today. Find one negative thought you have and reframe it into something kinder and more useful.
Now, let's address a psychological trap that affects millions of people globally: comparing ourselves to others.
Oh, wow, comparing. comparing. This is a massive issue.
When you compare, you evaluate your own status by measuring it against someone else's achievements. You think, they have a better car, or they speak English faster than I do.
And modern technology makes this 1,000 times worse. You open a social app, and boom, perfect bodies, expensive holidays, flawless relationships.
But logically, we must remember that digital media is heavily filtered. People only broadcast their highlight reel.
Highlight reel. I love this term. Originally, a highlight reel was a sports term. It's a quick video showing only the best goals and victories of a game. Nobody includes the boring passes or the embarrassing falls.
Exactly. So when you view a colleague's flawless beach photograph, you are not seeing the delayed flight, the terrible sunburn, or the argument they had at the hotel.
You are literally only seeing the absolute best 5 seconds of their entire week.
There is a classic English idiom that captures this perfectly. The grass isn't always greener.
The grass isn't always greener. This means that someone else's situation might look perfectly green and beautiful from a distance. But when you actually get closer, you realize they have weeds and dirt just like you do.
Precisely. For instance, he was jealous of his manager's high salary, but after seeing how much stress she endured, he realized the grass isn't always greener.
Or, social media constantly tries to convince us that everyone else's grass is perfectly green.
I am certain that every single listener has fallen into this comparison trap at least once.
Oh, definitely. I remember sitting on my sofa one night, feeling like I was the only person in the world who wasn't buying a huge house or traveling to Europe.
Ah, the classic, everyone is succeeding except for me, illusion.
Yes. But then I stopped and asked myself, Sarah, Are you seriously comparing your messy 24-hour reality to someone's 10-second highlight reel?
And logically, the answer was yes.
Completely yes. Once I admitted that, I felt a huge sense of relief. Now, I use a much healthier rule. I only compare myself to the person I was yesterday. I never compare myself to who someone else is today.
That is incredibly profound. Could you repeat that for our audience?
Absolutely. Compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else is today.
That is the only scientifically accurate way to track progress. Are you communicating a tiny bit better than last month? Are you slightly more patient than last week? That is the true metric of success.
And this is so vital for all of you learning English with us right now. Please, do not compare your speaking skills to a native speaker. Compare your skills to where you were 6 months ago.
Ask yourself, can I understand more vocabulary today? Can I construct a sentence that confused me last year?
If the answer is yes, then you are winning. Be proud of yourself. You are making real progress, even if it feels slow on some days.
Absolutely. So our next core concept, defend your mental energy against comparison. Focus on watering your own grass rather than staring over the fence at your neighbor's yard.
Okay, let's shift gears and talk about our daily habits. Because as we've said, positivity is a daily practice, not just a magical feeling.
Correct. Let's analyze the concept of a morning routine. A morning routine is a specific sequence of actions you perform daily before your formal work or study begins.
My routine is super simple, actually. I drink a huge glass of lemon water, I do a 5-minute stretch, and I write one positive sentence in my notebook.
My routine prioritizes efficiency. I consume a piece of fruit and a glass of water immediately upon waking. It is basic, but it establishes early momentum.
Sometimes my routine is just putting on my headphones, listening to my favorite song, and making tea.
The complexity does not matter. The value comes from the repetition. There is a helpful phrase here. Small steps add up.
When things add up, it means tiny, almost invisible actions accumulate until they create a massive result.
Exactly. For example, practicing English vocabulary for just 15 minutes every day really adds up over 12 months.
Or saving $2 a day seems tiny, but it adds up to a nice vacation fund.
And the critical element to making things add up is consistency. Consistency means performing an action regularly and reliably, rather than doing it perfectly once and then quitting.
Yes, consistency is so much more important than perfection. Listening to this podcast for 20 minutes a day is way better than trying to study for 5 hours straight on a Sunday and getting a headache.
So listeners, evaluate your current morning. Is there one microscopic positive habit you can insert into your schedule? Just one.
It could be smiling out the window, reading one page of a book, or just doing a quick stretch.
Whatever you choose, keep the barrier to entry low. You do not require a complex strategy. You just need to take one step.
Well done to everyone who is already imagining their new habit right now.
However, we promise to be authentic with our audience. We must acknowledge that even if you have perfect habits, life will inevitably deliver painful experiences.
It's true, projects fail, people break our hearts, and unexpected tragedies happen.
And that is the true testing ground for positivity. It isn't tested when you are on vacation. It is tested when you are navigating a storm.
I remember a very dark period a few years ago. I just felt completely frozen. My career was exhausting and I had zero motivation to change it.
You felt frozen? Could you elaborate on that?
I was stuck in a rut. Stuck in a rut means you are trapped in a boring, repetitive cycle, and you cannot figure out how to escape or improve.
That is a great idiom. A rut is a deep track made by a wheel in the mud. So, an example. After doing the exact same paperwork for 5 years, David felt completely stuck in a rut.
Or, I realized I was stuck in a rut when I stopped looking forward to the weekends.
I have definitely experienced that psychological state. What specific actions helped you regain your momentum?
I had to strip everything back to the absolute basics. I took a sticky note and wrote down 3 incredibly small goals, one for my physical health, one for my brain, and one for my heart.
That categorization is excellent. What were the specific parameters?
Health, I will walk outside for 15 minutes after dinner. Brain, I will read an interesting article for 10 minutes. Heart. I will send one text message to check in on a family member.
Those are highly achievable metrics.
Exactly. And just seeing them on the sticky note relieved my anxiety. My brain finally had a map again.
It functions much like operating a vehicle in dense fog. If your headlights are off, you panic. But setting small goals turns the headlights on. You still cannot view your final destination, but you can see the next 3 meters of the road, which allows you to proceed safely.
Oh, Jack, I absolutely love that metaphor. And you know what? It worked. Jack, what measurable changes did you observe? Well, the physical walking boosted my daily mood. The reading made me feel curious again. And texting my family made me feel less isolated.
So your environment didn't magically transform overnight.
No, the job was still the same job, but I started to bounce back.
Bounce back, another excellent phrasal verb. To bounce back means to successfully recover your strength or confidence after a significant setback or failure. Imagine a rubber ball hitting the concrete and springing back into the air.
Yes, for instance, it was a terrible flu, but she bounced back after a week of rest.
Or, highly relevant for our audience, you will frequently make pronunciation errors, but if you quickly bounce back, your fluency will skyrocket.
Absolutely true. I believe in all of you. Every mistake is just a bounce.
Now, occasionally, life presents challenges that are deeper than just stress. We experience genuine grief, major rejections, and profound loss.
And true positivity never demands that you ignore that deep pain. It simply means you develop the strength to carry the pain while slowly walking forward.
I visualize severe emotional pain as a massive, heavy backpack. Reality dictates that you must carry this weight for a specific duration of time.
But carrying the backpack doesn't mean you have to lie down on the pavement and completely abandon your entire future.
Correct. You can proceed at a much slower pace, and gradually, as time passes, the physical sensation of that weight begins to decrease.
We have a beautiful phrasal verb to describe this process. Work through.
To work through a complex issue means you systematically process your emotions and tackle a difficult situation step by step, rather than aggressively avoiding it.
Yes. For example, it took my friend Marco several months to work through his fear of public speaking.
Or, she is currently working through a very painful divorce, but she is attending therapy and making daily progress.
I appreciate this concept because it is so genuine. It doesn't scream at you to, just smile. It whispers, keep working through the pain, one breath at a time.
And that quiet persistence, listeners, is the highest form of positivity. It is not a plastic smile, it is quiet courage.
Quiet courage. That is so touching.
Therefore, if any of our listeners are currently navigating a dark chapter, please know that your sadness is valid. Tears are a biological necessity. Just attempt to avoid living permanently inside the sadness 24 hours a day.
Try to take just one tiny step outside of the darkness today. Drink a warm cup of coffee. Message someone you trust. That tiny step is a massive victory.
Before we transition to our vocabulary summary, we must analyze one final variable: the humans in our social circle.
Oh, this is vital. The community we spend time with aggressively shapes our internal climate.
The technical term for this phenomenon is influence, influence. When a variable has influence, it possesses the power to alter your psychological state, your opinions, or your behaviors.
Right, like spending my weekends with ambitious, creative friends has a huge influence on my own motivation.
Or, you must carefully monitor the influence that negative social media accounts have on your mental health.
I actually used to have a coworker who exclusively complained. Every single lunch break was a list of terrible things about the world.
That sounds neurologically exhausting.
It really was. I tried to be a good listener, but eventually, just sitting near him made me feel incredibly tired and sad.
In English, we say that person brings you down.
Bring you down. When someone brings you down, they literally drag your mood downward. They drain your energy battery.
For example, I had to distance myself from relatives who constantly bring me down with their pessimistic attitudes.
But thankfully, we also have the opposite phrase, lift you up. When a person lifts you up, you walk away from them feeling energized, inspired, and capable.
Exactly. A successful student surrounds themselves with peers who lift them up, rather than critics who bring them down.
O. Surround. surround. When you surround yourself with something, you place it all around your environment.
Now, we are not suggesting you abandon every friend who is experiencing a temporary crisis. That would be highly unethical. We are simply discussing the macro balance of your social ecosystem.
Exactly. If every single person in your life drains your battery, you need to make a change. And if you have even one magical friend who lifts you up, you must treasure them.
Treasure, treasure. Used as a verb, to treasure something means you assign extremely high value to it and you protect it carefully.
For example, I absolutely treasure my Sunday morning video calls with my grandmother.
And for those of you learning English, this social dynamic is crucial. If you can locate just one dedicated practice partner, that alliance will accelerate your progress.
You need someone who gets genuinely excited about your small wins.
A win simply denotes a victory, regardless of the scale. Memorizing 5 new verbs is a legitimate win.
So everyone listening, take a quick mental inventory. Who lifts you up? Maybe pause this audio in a moment and send them a quick text message to say thank you.
That communication is a strategic investment in both your own mental health and their happiness.
All right, Jack. I think it is officially time for our word tour. Let's do a quick review of our new vocabulary.
Excellent. Let's consolidate the data. First, positivity, maintaining a hopeful, constructive attitude, regardless of external difficulties.
Applying positivity to my daily routine gives me the fuel I need to tackle hard tasks.
Next, dwell on, continuously obsessing over a singular, usually negative thought.
If you fail an exam, learn the lesson, but do not dwell on the failure for a week.
Outlook, your overarching perspective or mental lens on life.
Changing her diet and exercise routine completely transformed her outlook on the future.
Gratitude, the conscious state of appreciating the positive elements of your reality.
Expressing gratitude for my healthy family makes my daily stress disappear.
Spiraling, the psychological process where a minor anxiety rapidly multiplies into a catastrophic scenario.
I heard a strange noise in my car engine, and my thoughts started spiraling about going bankrupt.
Keep your head above water, barely surviving a crisis, avoiding total failure but not thriving.
With the rent increasing and her car breaking down, Maria is just keeping her head above water.
Self-talk, the continuous internal monologue inside your brain.
Make sure your self-talk is as kind as the words you would say to your best friend.
Reframe, altering the perspective on a factual situation to find a more constructive interpretation.
She reframed her job loss as a fantastic opportunity to finally start her own business.
Highlight reel, a curated collection of only the absolute best, most successful moments.
Remember, that fitness model's social media page is just a highly edited highlight reel.
The grass isn't always greener. The illusion that other people's situations are perfect, ignoring their hidden struggles.
He envied his brother's fame, but the grass isn't always greener when you lose your privacy.
Stuck in a rut, trapped in a repetitive, uninspiring cycle with no obvious escape route.
She realized she was stuck in a rut when she couldn't remember the last time she tried something new.
Bounce back, to successfully recover your momentum and confidence after a major defeat.
Even after a terrible presentation, a great public speaker will quickly bounce back.
Bring you down versus lift you up. Draining someone's emotional energy versus elevating and inspiring them.
Choose to spend your weekends with mentors who lift you up rather than critics who bring you down.
Finally, work through systematically processing a painful emotion or complex problem step by step.
He is working through the grief of losing his pet, and taking small walks every day is helping.
An outstanding summary. If you successfully retained 50% of those definitions, you are operating at a high level. If not, simply replay the audio.
Yes, language acquisition is all about repetition. Listen, practice, sleep, and listen again.
Let us execute a rapid recap of the 5 core psychological principles we discussed today. First, actionable positivity is generated internally through micro-habits, like gratitude and constructive self-talk.
Second, worrying about things you can't control drains your battery. Put your focus back on the tiny things you actually have the power to change.
Third, construct a shield against social comparison. The only valid metric is comparing your current self to your historical self.
Fourth, small, consistent actions compound over time. You do not need a dramatic lifestyle makeover. Just one tiny step every single morning.
And fifth, during periods of genuine trauma, process your emotions systematically. Utilize quiet courage to work through the pain, rather than faking a smile.
Perfectly summarized, Jack. And please remember, beautiful learners, you are human. Having a bad day where you just want to stay in bed is 100% acceptable.
The objective is not biological perfection. The objective is simply pointing your compass in a slightly kinder direction.
I love that. Okay, it is time for our favorite segment, the community question.
Indeed. We propose one prompt every episode, and we thoroughly analyze your responses in the comment section.
Today's question is, what is the very first action you take when you wake up in the morning?
Do you immediately inspect your digital device? Do you consume a beverage? Do you stretch your muscles?
Type your answer down in the comments below. Please try to write it in English. Even a short, simple sentence is totally perfect. For example, the first thing I do is drink hot tea.
We extract a lot of joy from reading your habits. It truly simulates a massive global classroom environment.
It is the best feeling. Well, everyone, that brings us to the end of our main discussion today.
We conducted a thorough analysis of practical positivity, controlling anxiety, the danger of comparison, and strategies for navigating emotional pain.
And we covered some incredibly powerful vocabulary. Dwell on, outlook, spiraling, self-talk, reframe, highlight reel, stuck in a rut, bounce back, and work through.
Your homework for this week is to actively deploy at least 2 of these phrases in your own personal conversations.
If today's chat helped you feel just a little bit lighter, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the Confident Speaking podcast, and send it to someone who might need a little boost of hope today.
You did not waste the last 30 minutes. You made a strategic investment in your linguistic capabilities and your mental health.
We are so proud of you. Thank you for showing up for yourself today. Jack, this has been the Confident Speaking podcast with Jack and Sarah.
Until our next session, treat your brain with logic and kindness, execute small steps daily, and cultivate that positive momentum.
Bye, everyone. Sending you all big hugs. Take wonderful care of yourselves.
Your linguistic evolution continues. Click the next video on your screen for more authentic dialogues and advanced vocabulary training. We are ready when you are.
Thanks for tuning in to Confident Speaking Podcast. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe to master English fluency.